Tom Callahan kicked the front door open and leveled his rifle straight at the heavyset woman standing in his kitchen. "Step away from my girls now." The woman didn't flinch. Flour whitened her hands. Fresh bread cooled on the stove. 6-year-old Ella clung to her wool skirt. 8-year-old Lily threw herself between the rifle barrel and the stranger, arms spread wide, tears cutting tracks through the dirt on her cheeks. "Papa, don't!" Lily screamed. "She fed us. She fed us, Papa." Tom's hands shook on the rifle. He couldn't remember the last time he'd fed them himself. Before this story goes any further, if you've ever loved someone the world told you not to love, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the bell so you don't miss a single chapter of this journey. And down in the comments, tell me which town you're listening from tonight. I want to see just how far across this country my story has traveled. Now, settle in close, dear listener, because what's about to happen on this Montana ranch is going to break your heart wide open and then put it back together stronger than it ever was before. Tom didn't lower the rifle. "Lily, get behind me." "No, Papa." "Lily, I said get behind me." "No, Papa." The little girl's chin trembled, but her arms stayed wide. "You'll have to shoot me first." The woman in the kitchen finally moved slowly. She set the wooden spoon down on the counter like she didn't want to startle a wild animal. Then she lifted both flour-dusted hands where Tom could see them. "Mr. Callahan. My name is Mary Whitmore. I ain't armed. I ain't here to take nothing. And I surely ain't here to hurt these babies. You're in my house." "Yes, sir, I am." "You broke into my house?" "No, sir. The door was unlatched. The fire was dead. Your littlest one was sitting on the floor with no shoes on, crying. So I came in." Tom's jaw locked. "Ella, where are your shoes?" Ella pressed her face deeper into Mary's skirt and didn't answer. "Ella, I asked you a question." "Don't, Papa." Lily's voice cracked. "Don't yell at her." "I ain't yelling." "You are. You're yelling the way you've been yelling for a year. And we're tired, Papa. We're tired." The rifle dipped just an inch. Tom felt it dip and hated himself for it. "Lily, go fetch your sister's shoes right now." "They don't fit no more, Papa." Lily's voice was thin as a thread. "They ain't fit since the harvest." "I told you. I told you twice. You said you'd ride to town. You didn't ride to town." The rifle dipped another inch. Mary spoke soft as bread dough. "Sir, there's stew on the stove." "Rabbit stew. I caught the rabbit myself this morning in your north fence line. The girls have eaten. Why don't you set that gun down and eat, too? You look like a man who ain't eaten proper in some while." "I don't want your stew." "Yes, you do. Ma'am, you don't know me. I know you got 2 daughters who love you so hard they're standing between you and a rifle. I know that much." Tom's arms began to shake. He lowered the rifle. He set it against the wall. "Lily, Ella, upstairs." "Papa, I ain't going to hurt her." "Lily, I just need to talk with her grown up to grown up." "Go on up, both of you." Lily didn't move. She looked at Mary first. "It's all right, sugar." Mary touched the top of Lily's head light as a sparrow landing. "You go on. I'll still be right here." "Promise." "I promise." "Swear it on the Bible." Mary's eyes shone. "Sweetheart, I swear it on a stack of them." The girls climbed the stairs slow, looking back over their shoulders. When the bedroom door clicked shut, Tom ran his hand down his face and felt 3 days of stubble and something wet at the corners of his eyes. "Sit down, ma'am." "I'd rather stand, sir." "Sit down, please." She sat. Tom stayed on his feet. He couldn't stop staring at the bread on the stove. He hadn't smelled bread in this house since his wife Sarah died. "How long you been here?" Since this morning, sir. About 3 hours. And you just walked in? I knocked, sir. 3 times hard. Nobody answered. Then I heard a child crying inside, so I tried the door. I have done the same at any house in any state. You a thief, ma'am? No, sir. You running from somebody? No, sir. Then what in God's name are you doing 100 miles from any town walking into a stranger's house? Mary folded her hands in her lap. They were big hands, broad and strong, trembling now just a little. I've been traveling, sir. Cooking my way from camp to camp. I had a job up at the Aworth Ranch through October. They let me go when the snow set in. Said I should make it to Helena before the passes closed. And did you? No, sir. The passes closed 2 weeks early. Where you been sleeping? Barns, sir. Mostly barns. There's a mining shack about 4 miles east where I spent the last 3 nights. The roof is mostly gone. I figured I'd freeze to death by Sunday. Jesus. I don't mean to be a burden, sir. I saw your smoke last night. I told myself if there was a soul willing to trade a meal for a day's work, I'd ask. Then I came out and the door was unlatched. And there was a child crying inside. That'd be Ella. She cries every morning, ma'am. Has done since her mama died. I'm sorry. You don't got to be sorry. You ain't done nothing. Tom pulled out the chair across from her and finally sat. The kitchen smelled like a kitchen again. Onion, marrow, yeast. What did you give them to eat? Rabbit stew. Bread. A little molasses on the bread. They hadn't had bread in some weeks. That's true. They ate like wolf pups, sir. I ain't judging you. You are? I ain't. Sir, I lost my husband 3 winters back. I know what grief does to a person. I know it makes you forget that other people got to keep eating even when you can't taste nothing. Tom's hands curled into fists on the table. He uncurled them. What was your husband's name? Thomas. How'd he die? Cholera. Summer of 79. Took him in 2 days. I'm sorry. You don't got to be sorry. You ain't done nothing. She gave him a small crooked smile. He almost smiled back. Eat with me, ma'am. Sir, I ain't asking. You cooked it. You eat it. There's enough for 3 grown folks in that pot. So eat. All right, sir. She stood and ladled 2 bowls. She moved heavy and slow, but every motion was sure. She set the bowl in front of him, then sat back down with her own and bowed her head. You praying, ma'am? Yes, sir. Pray out loud. I ain't heard a prayer in this house in over a year. Pray out loud. Mary closed her eyes. Lord, we thank you for this rabbit who gave his life so we could keep ours. We thank you for the wheat that became this bread. We thank you for the man who let me sit at his table when he could have turned me out into the cold. And Lord, we ask you to bless the 2 little ones upstairs who've been carrying too much for too long. Amen. Amen. He ate. He hadn't tasted food in a year. The first spoonful of that stew hit the back of his throat, and Tom Callahan set his spoon down and put his face in his hands and didn't make a sound. Mary kept eating. She didn't look at him. She let him have it. When he lifted his head, his eyes were red but dry. Ma'am. Yes, sir. What's it going to take to get you to stay through the storm? Sir? There's another front coming down out of Canada. My foreman said 3 days, maybe 4, of weather like the world's ending. I can't put you back out in that. Sir, I don't think you can have. The back room of the kitchen was my mother-in-law's before she passed. Door locks from the inside. Sir, your daughter's? My daughters have been crying themselves to sleep for a year because their papa don't know how to be their papa no more. You've been in my house 3 hours and the little one stopped crying. You want to talk to me about my daughters, ma'am? You go right on ahead. But you better mean it kind. I mean it kind, sir. Then stay through the storm. And after the storm, we'll see. Mary looked at him a long time. Tom held her eyes. He hadn't looked a woman in the eyes since Sarah. Mary's eyes were brown and wet at the corners. Recognition. The way one drowning person recognizes another in the water. All right, sir. I'll work for my keep. I cook. I clean. I sew. I ain't pretty. And I ain't proud, but I work. Ma'am, I got to say it. Sir. I got to say it once and get it past us. I'm not a small woman. I have been looked at my whole life. So you don't got to worry about offending me. I rather you say it now than think it for 3 days. Ma'am. I ain't been thinking nothing about how you look. I've been thinking about how my Ella was sitting on the kitchen floor with no shoes when I rode out this morning, and now she's upstairs warm and full because you came through my door. Mary's mouth opened. It closed. Eat your stew, ma'am. Yes, sir. They ate in silence. The fire popped. Outside, the wind started picking up. What's your name, sir? Tom. Tom Callahan. The girls, Lily's 8, Ella's 6. Their mama, Sarah, died last December. Childbed fever. Baby went with her. Oh, Tom. Don't. Don't what, sir? Don't say it like you mean it. I do mean it. Don't. She set down her spoon. She reached across the table slowly and covered his hand with hers. Her hand was warm. He didn't pull away. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked, then another. 2 pairs of small bare feet padding down the stairs and stopping halfway. They're listening, Mary murmured. I know they are. Should I go on up to bed, sir? All right, sir. She stood and gathered the bowls. Leave them, ma'am. Leave them till morning. I don't mind washing up, sir. I'll wash them. It'll do me good to wash a dish. All right, sir. She paused at the kitchen doorway. Mr. Callahan. Tom. Ma'am. Tom, I want to thank you. You ain't got to thank me. I do. You could have thrown me out. You didn't. My daughter wouldn't let me. Yes, sir. She would not. Good night, Mary. Good night, Tom. She went up the stairs slow. Tom heard a person walking in his house. Heavy, solid, real. The opposite of a ghost. When her door shut, the 2 pairs of bare feet came down the rest of the way. Papa. Come here, Lily girl. She came. Ella trailed behind her. Tom pulled both of them onto his lap. He hadn't held them in a year. They still fit. Papa, are you mad? No, baby. Are you sad? Yes, baby. Why? He kissed the tops of their heads. He breathed in the smell of his children who smelled like soap because the woman upstairs had baked them. Because I've been a poor papa, Lily. For a long time. You ain't poor, papa. I ain't talking about money, sugar. Oh. Yes, you've been. Lily. What you said. Tell the truth. I did say that, didn't I? Papa. Yes. Is the lady going to stay? Baby, there's a storm coming. And then we'll see. Papa. I want her to stay forever. Don't say that yet. Why not? Because forever is a long word for a little girl. Lily said, don't let her go. When you came in with the gun, Lily said don't let her go. Tom looked at his oldest. Lily was 8 years old and she had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn mouth. She was looking at him with the look of someone who had already lost everything once and would not survive losing it twice. Lily girl. Do you remember what your mama looked like? A little. Do you remember the way she smelled? No, Papa. Do you remember the sound of her voice? No, Papa. Not no more. All right, sugar. He held them both tighter. The wind hit the house, and the whole frame shuddered. Tom Callahan, who had not prayed in a year, closed his eyes and tried to remember how prayer started. He didn't get past the first word. Upstairs, a heavy-set woman with flour on her hands sat on the edge of a stranger's bed and pressed her face into a quilt that smelled like a woman who had been dead for a year. And she wept because she knew what she had walked into. And she did not yet know which she had the strength to do, save these people or break them. Outside, the first hard wave of the blizzard came down. Inside, a fire burned in a hearth that had been cold for a year. A cowboy held his 2 daughters and let them feel the steady beat of his heart. And his oldest girl whispered into his collar, "Papa, don't let her go." He held her tighter. Somewhere in the part of him that had been buried for a year, something small and stubborn began very slowly to thaw. Tom didn't sleep. He sat in the rocker by the hearth until the girls' breathing went deep. Then he carried them up and laid them in their bed. He stood in their doorway watching them breathe. He went back downstairs. The bowls were still on the table. He washed them slowly with water he heated himself on the stove the woman had lit. Then he set them to dry and stood with his hands braced on the counter. "Sarah," he said out loud, "what am I doing?" The wind answered. By dawn, the windows had ice an inch thick on the inside. Tom sat at the table with cold coffee and his rifle still leaning against the wall. A floorboard creaked behind him. "Morning, sir." "Morning, Mary. You sleep any?" "No, ma'am. I figured." She moved past him to the stove. She opened the firebox, dropped in pine, filled the kettle. She did it all without asking a single question. "Mary." "Yes, sir." "You sleep some?" "How much is some?" "Enough." "Tom." "Mary." "Enough." He turned. She had her sleeves pushed up and her hair pinned back. Her face was soft and tired. "You was crying last night?" "Yes, sir." "I was." "Why?" "That ain't a question for before breakfast, sir." "Mary." "Tom." She set the kettle down hard. "I cried because that quilt smelled like a woman who loved her family. And I ain't been around a quilt like that in 3 years. That's all." "You want eggs, sir?" "You got 6 in the spring house. I counted your eggs and your flour and your salt pork. You got food enough for a week. 2 weeks if I cook it. After that, you got a problem." He set down the cup. "Make the eggs." "Yes, sir." She was scrambling them when Lily came down in her nightgown, dragging Ella behind her. Both girls stared at Mary. "Morning, babies." "Morning, Miss Mary." "You can call me Mary, sugar." Mama said it ain't polite to call grown folks by their first names without a miss. Mary's hand went still. "Then Miss Mary it is." Ella walked straight to her and wrapped both arms around her hips. "Morning, baby girl. You're still here." "I'm still here, Ella." "You said you would be." "I said I would." "You hungry?" "Yes, ma'am." "Set yourself at the table." "Lily, fetch your sister a cup of milk." Lily looked at her papa. "Go on, Lily girl. Do as Miss Mary asks." "Yes, papa." When the door shut, Tom and Mary looked at each other. Neither said what they were both thinking. Lily had not asked permission of a grown woman in this house in over a year. The first knock came at noon. Tom was out at the barn. He came back fast. Mary was already standing between the front door and the girls with a cast iron skillet in her hand. Put that down, Mary. Tom, I don't know who's at that door. It's my front door. Put it down. She set it on the table. He opened the door. A man on a half-dead horse with snow in his beard and a Bible bag over his shoulder. Reverend Harris. You're a long way from town. The Peterson baby took sick. I'm trying to get back before the second wave hits. You ain't going to make it. Come in, Mary said. Another plate. The Reverend stepped in and stopped. He looked at Mary, at the girls, at the back room door standing open. Tom. Who is this woman? Mary Whitmore. She's a cook. Got caught when the passes closed. She's staying through the storm. In your house. In the back room, Reverend, with the door locked. Tom, you got 2 little girls and no wife. Mary spoke from behind him. Reverend, my husband is buried in Iowa. I'm 36 years old, a widow of 3 winters. I came to this door starving. I will be gone the moment the road clears. There ain't a thing improper about it, and I would thank you not to look at me that way in front of these children. The Reverend's jaw worked. Ma'am. Sir, you'll forgive a man of God for asking once. I won't forgive him for asking twice. Lily said, Papa, is the Reverend gonna make Miss Mary leave? No, baby. You sure, Papa? I am sure. Reverend Harris ate. He drank. He prayed in a tight voice. When he stood to leave, he stopped at the door. Tom. I will pray for you. And I will say what I saw when I am asked. You say what you got to say. Tom, people have been talking about this house for a year. Now I find a strange woman sleeping under your roof. Send her on when the road opens. Hire a married woman from town. There is a way to do this that don't end with the territorial marshal at your door. Reverend Harris, get on your horse before I forget you baptized my baby. The Reverend left. Tom shut the door and stood with his forehead against the wood. Mary. Yes, Tom. Did you hear what he said about the marshal? I heard. He turned around. They could take the girls. For having you in this house. Yes, sir. That's the law. Lily, Ella, upstairs. Papa now. Lily. The girls went. Tom sat down at the table and put his face in his hands. He came apart without a sound. Mary sat across from him. Tom. I'll leave when the road opens. Tom, no. Mary. Mary. He lifted his head. His eyes were wet, but his jaw was set. For the first time since she'd walked in, he looked like a man, not a ghost. You ain't going nowhere because of what some preachers said. Or because the town is scared of a fat woman in a widower's kitchen. Or because some marshal might write a letter. Tom, your daughters. My daughters were starving, Mary. No shoes, no bread, a pauper who couldn't look at them. You think the marshal is what I'm afraid of? What are you afraid of? He was quiet. Then, I'm afraid you'll go. I'm afraid the bread will stop and the fire will go out and I won't know how to light it again. Tom, I'm one woman. I made 1 pot of stew. You made my daughter say my name without flinching. You made my littlest stop crying. You set the table, Mary. 3 plates and a fourth. At 4 corners like a family sits. I came down this morning and saw 4 plates and I almost couldn't breathe. She was crying now. I didn't mean to set 4. I set them without thinking. I know you did. I'll set 3 tomorrow. No, you won't. You'll set 4. She put her hand over her mouth. The road won't open for a week. By then the town will know. We can send you off and let them talk. Or we can figure something out. Or we can what, Tom? I don't know yet. But I'm done losing people because I was too scared to fight for them. She wiped her face. Tom Callahan. You barely know me. I know enough. You don't, sir. Mary, you've been in my house 30 hours and you brought my children back from the date. There ain't a thing left for me to know. She walked to the stove and stood with her back to him. Tom. I have been a fat woman my whole life. And there has not been one single time a man has spoken to me the way you are speaking without wanting something from me. Not one time. So you will forgive me for trying to figure out what you want. I want you to stay through the storm and after. As what, Tom? I am not a housekeeper. I am not a nanny. I am not a wife of convenience. I will not be those things for a man who sees a problem to be solved. I don't see a problem, Mary. I see a woman who walked into a dying house and lit the stove. She turned around, crying openly. That ain't an answer. It's the only one I got today. Give me a few more days. All right. All right, Tom. Upstairs, a door creaked. 2 pairs of bare feet on the stairs again. Tom and Mary heard them. Lily, Ella, come on down. The girls came down. Lily walked to Mary and put both arms around her waist and pressed her face into her apron. I heard you, Papa. Don't you let her go. Lily. Swear it, Papa. Swear it. He swallowed. I swear it, Lily girl. Not unless she wants to go, and not without a fight. Lily nodded against Mary's apron. Mary's hand rested on the back of her head. Tom reached across the table and took Mary's other hand in his own, and he held it. The pounding on the door came hard enough to rattle the latch. Take the girls upstairs, Mary. Now, please. She moved fast. Tom pulled the rifle off the wall. He opened the door. A man in a long black coat fell into the kitchen. Frank. What in God's name? Frank Whitfield was 60 years old, his lips blue. Tom's dead wife's father. Frank, get to the fire. Tom, I rode straight through from town. Reverend Harris came back and told 6 people there was a strange woman in your house. Your daughter's in the care of a woman of unclear character. They're talking about writing to Helena. About the marshal. Frank, sit down. Drink this. Frank took the cup but didn't drink. His eyes were wet. My grandbabies. They are upstairs, Frank. Warm and fed. With the woman who fed them. Tom, I rode through a blizzard at 61 because I was afraid of what I'd find. I thought I was going to find my grandbabies dying. Frank, your grandbabies have been dying for a year. From me. From their papa not knowing how to be their papa no more. You knew it and you didn't say nothing because you were grieving too. Don't sit in my kitchen and tell me you were afraid. You knew what was here. Frank's mouth opened and closed. Is there a strange woman in your house? Yes. Has she been alone with my grandbabies? Yes. Through the night. Frank set the cup down and stood. Bring her down. Tom walked to the foot of the stairs. Mary. Come on down. She came alone. She stopped on the bottom step. Sir. Frank Whitfield, this is Mary Whitmore. Mary, this is Sarah's father. Mr. Whitfield. Frank looked at her a long time. Mary stood and let him look, not dropping her eyes. Mrs. Whitmore. You've been cooking in my daughter's kitchen. Yes, sir. Did Tom tell you whose kitchen that was? He told me his wife's name was Sarah. That's all. Sarah made bread in that kitchen every Saturday. There's a wooden spoon with a chip out of the handle. She dropped it when she was carrying Lily. I've been using that spoon, sir. I know. I can smell the bread. Mary's chin trembled. Sir, if you want me to leave this house, I will leave. I have not touched a thing with disrespect. My own husband is dead 3 years. I know what a kitchen is to a woman who is gone. The old man's face crumpled. He sat down on the hearth and put his face in his hands and wept. Mary looked at Tom. Tom looked at Mary. Frank wiped his face. Mrs. Whitmore. How long do you intend to stay? I don't know, sir. The road is closed. After it opens, there will be a conversation between Mr. Callahan and myself. Has he asked you to stay? Mary glanced at Tom. He nodded once. Yes, sir. He has. In what capacity, ma'am? He has not yet said. Frank turned to Tom. In what capacity? Tom looked at his father-in-law, at Mary on the bottom step with her hand white-knuckled on the rail. He thought of Lily upstairs with her ear pressed to the floor. He thought of Sarah, who would have walked into this kitchen and looked at the woman lighting her stove and said, Tom. In what capacity? As my wife, Frank. The room went so quiet Tom could hear the fire. Mary caught herself on the wall. Tom. You have not asked me. I am asking you now, Mary. In front of my dead daughter's father. In front of the only family I got left besides those two girls upstairs. Because I am done doing things in the dark. Frank rode through a blizzard to look me in the face. I will look him in the face. Mary, hear me. I am not asking because of the marshal. Or because of the reverend. Or because the town is talking. I'm asking because last night you set 4 plates on my table without thinking, and I came down and saw them and I knew. I have known since you turned around at my stove with your hands in the air and didn't flinch when I had a rifle on you. The only person in this house who has not been told yet is you. And I am telling you now. Mary was crying silently. Tom Callahan. I will not answer you tonight. I will not answer you in front of this man. I will not answer you until I have prayed. And if I answer you yes, it will not be because I am afraid of the road or the storm or the marshal. It will be because I have decided. Do you hear me? I hear you, Mary. Good. All right. She turned and went back up the stairs. Frank finally spoke. Tom. You are a damn fool. I know it, Frank. My daughter has been in the ground a year. I have counted every day, Frank. That woman. She is not what folks expect. I know. They will be cruel to her. To my grandbabies. I know they will, Frank. That's the part that scares me. Then why? Because the alternative is watching my Lily go quiet again. Watching my Ella sit on the floor with no shoes. Because the alternative is what we have had for a year, and I cannot do another year of it. I would rather fight the whole damn town. Frank was quiet. Then, my Sarah. On the day she died, she took my hand and said, Daddy, you tell Jack he is not allowed to be alone. Tell him the girls need a mother and he needs a wife. Tell him I do not care who she is or where she comes from or what she looks like. I want him warm. I want my babies warm. Promise me, Daddy. Tom could not breathe. Frank, I have not told you. Because I was a selfish old man, Tom. Every time I rode out and saw you alone, I felt closer to my Sarah. As long as you were grieving, I was not the only one. And I am ashamed of it. My Sarah told me to tell you, and I did not tell you. That is on me. Tom sat down on the hearth next to his father-in-law and put his arm around the old man's shoulders. Upstairs, 3 pairs of feet came down the stairs. Mary came all the way down with both girls, one on each side. Lily had her hand in Mary's, and Ella had her face buried in Mary's skirt. Frank looked up. He saw his granddaughters with their hands in a stranger's hands. He saw something on their faces he had not seen in a year. Lily Bug. Come here, Lily Bug. She let go of Mary and went to him. He caught her and held her against his chest. Ella toddled over too. Frank Whitfield held both of his grandbabies and looked over their heads at Mary standing in his daughter's kitchen. He didn't say anything. Lily lifted her head. Granddaddy. Did Papa ask Miss Mary to stay? Yes, Lilybug. Did Miss Mary say yes? Frank looked at Mary. Sugar, I have not answered yet. Why not, Miss Mary? Because answering is a serious thing, and I want to do it right. Lily climbed down. She walked across the kitchen and stopped in front of Mary and tilted her face all the way back. Miss Mary. Please say yes. I won't be no trouble. Ella won't be no trouble. We will be so good. Please. Tom stood up. Lily girl. Papa, you say don't make her do it because she's afraid. You say make her do it because she wants to. So I am telling her I want her to. Because I am the one who heard her crying last night through the wall. I heard her in Granny's old room. I knew she was lonely the same way we are lonely. And lonely people belong together. Frank started to laugh. It came out as half a sob. Out of the mouths of babes, Tom. Out of the mouths of them babes. Mary went down on her knees in front of Lily. She took both of Lily's small hands. Lily Callahan. You are 8 years old. And you have been the woman of this house for a whole year. That is too heavy for a girl of 8. I know it, Miss Mary. Will you let me carry some of it for you? Will you let me carry the heavy part, Sugar? Lily's chin shook. Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Mary pulled the child against her chest. And Lily Callahan, who had not cried since the morning her mother died, who had held her father's face together with her bare hands for 12 months, finally broke. She sobbed into Mary's apron. Mary held the back of her head and rocked her. Tom turned his face to the wall. Frank wept silently into his beard. Ella walked over and wrapped her arms around both of them. When Mary finally lifted her face, her eyes met Tom's. She did not speak. She nodded once. The pounding on the door this time was not one fist. It was 4. Tom heard the horses first. 4 sets of hoofs. Then boots on the porch, then the door shaking. Callahan, open up. Frank stood. Tom, who is that? That's Mayor Paul. The only man in Red Ridge County dumb enough to ride 4 men through a blizzard to make a point. Mary was already on her feet with Ella in her arms. Mary, take the girls upstairs. Tom, I will not hide. Mary, please. Tom Callahan, I have been hiding from rooms full of men my whole life. I will not hide in this one. Mary, take Ella. Frank. Take her up. Lily and I are staying. Frank held his arms out. Ella did not go. Ella, come to Granddaddy. No. I'm staying with Miss Mary. Tom opened the door. 4 men with snow in their beards. Mayor Paul in front. Behind him, Reverend Harris, who would not meet Tom's eyes. Behind the Reverend, a man in town clothes not made for weather. Behind that man, the county sheriff, Hank Doyle, who had ridden with Tom's daddy and looked like a man dragged into something he wanted no part of. Jack, step aside, son. We need to come in. Mayor, you are welcome to come in out of the storm. The man behind the Reverend does not. This is Mr. Albright, territorial agent for child welfare out of Helena. He happened to be in Red Ridge when the Reverend brought us his concerns. The road from Helena has been closed for 2 days, Mayor. And somehow a territorial agent just happens to be standing on my porch at sundown the day after Reverend Harris ate at my table. May we come in? Tom stepped aside. The 4 men came in. Mary stood by the hearth with Ella on her hip and Lily pressed against her side. Frank stood next to her. He had moved without anybody noticing. Albright took off his hat. Mrs. Whitmore, I presume? Yes, sir. My name is Curtis Albright. I would like to ask you some questions. Sir, you may ask me anything you like, but I will answer you with my hand on this child, and you will not ask me to put her down. Mrs. Whitmore, That will not be necessary. Sir, you do not know yet what will be necessary. Ask your questions. Albright's eyes flickered. How long have you been residing in this house? Tonight makes 2 nights, sir. In what relation do you stand to Mr. Callahan? None, sir. I came to his door starving. He took me in. I have slept in the back room with the door locked from inside both nights. I have cooked. I have cleaned. I have not laid a hand on him, and he has not laid a hand on me. Mrs. Whitmore, there is a witness who states that you and Mr. Callahan were observed holding hands at this very table not 4 hours ago. The kitchen went still. Frank turned his head slowly. Reverend. The Reverend did not answer. Reverend Harris, look at me. The Reverend did not look. Reverend Harris, you sat at my dead daughter's table. You ate her stew. You drank her coffee. And you rode back to town and told these men you saw a thing through a closed window in a blizzard? Frank, I did not say I saw it through the window. I say I had reason to believe. Get out of this house, Reverend Harris. I baptize your grandbabies, and I will see you in hell for what you are trying to do to them tonight. Get out. Mayor Paul stepped forward. Frank Whitfield, the Reverend stays. He is a witness in this matter. My granddaughters are not a matter. Albright cleared his throat. Mr. Whitfield, Mr. Callahan, the territorial code is clear. An unmarried woman may not reside under the same roof as a widower with minor female children for a period exceeding 72 hours without lawful guardianship. Mrs. Whitmore is approaching that threshold. Should she remain past it, the children may be taken into protective custody pending review. Lily's hand against Mary's head became a fist in Mary's apron. Sir, Mary started. Mary. Tom, I will leave. I will not let them take these babies. You will die out there. Then I will die. Tom, no. Yes, Mary, I do get to say no. Because I asked you a question this afternoon and you have not answered me. And you do not get to walk into a blizzard before you have answered me. Albright frowned. Asked her a question? Mr. Albright. I asked Mary Whitmore to be my wife at 4 o'clock this afternoon in front of my dead wife's father in this kitchen. She has not yet answered. So your 72 hours is a problem we are about to solve. Mary. Answer me now. In front of these men. Yes or no? Tom, do not do this in front of these men. I'm doing it in front of these men because they walked into my house because of you. I will not have you answer a question of the heart with a gun at your back. So I will put the gun there myself. Yes or no? She was crying. Lily's fist tightened in her apron. Miss Mary, Ella said very small. Say yes. Ella. Say yes, Miss Mary. Mary closed her eyes. She opened them. Yes, Tom. Say it again. Yes, Tom Callahan. Say it so the mayor hears it. She lifted her chin. She looked Mayor Paul straight in the face. Yes. Albright cleared his throat. Mr. Callahan, a verbal agreement is not. Reverend Harris. You are an ordained minister of the Methodist Church of the Territory of Montana. Are you or are you not? Tom, I am. You are standing in my kitchen. There are witnesses, the mayor, the sheriff, a territorial agent, the grandfather of the children themselves. You will perform this marriage now, tonight, or you will explain to the mayor and the sheriff and the agent and the Lord Almighty why you are denying a sacrament you have performed for every other family in this county for 15 years. The Reverend went white. Tom, there is no license. Sheriff Doyle. The Territorial Code provides for emergency marriages performed in conditions of natural disaster or threat to life and limb, with the license to be filed within 30 days. Yes or no? Doyle looked at his boots. Yes, Tom. That is the code. Mayor, you witnessed that confirmation. Paul's jaw worked. I witnessed it. Reverend. Do your job. Frank stepped forward. His voice was very quiet. Reverend, you stood at my daughter's grave a year ago and told me she was in a better place. You told me she was looking down, that she was at peace, that she wanted us to find peace too. If my Sarah is looking down right now, what do you reckon she is seeing you do in her kitchen? The Reverend looked at Frank, at Mary, at Lily with her fist in Mary's apron, at Tom. His eyes filled. Tom. I am sorry. I should not have said what I said this morning. I was a coward. I brought these men to your door. You will answer to me first, Reverend, by performing this marriage now. The Reverend nodded. He pulled out a worn black book. Mary Whitmore, stand here. Tom Callahan, stand here. Mr. Whitfield, you will witness. Mayor Paul, you will witness. Sheriff Doyle, you will witness. Mr. Albright, will you witness? The territorial agent looked at Mayor Paul. Paul looked at the floor. I will witness. Mary sat Ella down. Ella did not let go of her skirt. Mary moved across the kitchen with a 6-year-old attached to her hip and an 8-year-old's fist in her apron. She stood next to Tom in front of the hearth where his wife had stood once before, and she put her hand in his. Tom Callahan, do you take this woman Mary Whitmore to be your lawful wedded wife, in sickness and in health, in joy and in sorrow, from this day forward until death do you part? I do. Mary Whitmore, do you take this man Tom Callahan to be your lawful wedded husband, in sickness and in health, in joy and in sorrow, from this day forward until death do you part? I do. Have you a ring? Tom reached into his vest pocket. He pulled out his mother's ring. Tom. It was my mother's. It is a small ring. It will not fit your finger. I will have one made that fits. Tonight, you will wear this on a chain around your neck. Will you accept it that way? Yes. I will accept it any way you give it to me. He put the ring in her palm. She closed her hand around it. The Reverend's voice broke. By the power vested in me by the Methodist Church and the Territory of Montana, and under the emergency provisions of the Territorial Code, I now pronounce you man and wife. Tom, you may kiss your bride. Tom did not kiss her on the mouth. He took her face in both hands and kissed her forehead slowly, the way a man kisses a woman he intends to keep. He held his lips against her skin. Mary closed her eyes and one tear ran down her cheek onto his thumb. Mrs. Callahan. Mr. Callahan. Lily made a sound that was not a sob and not a laugh and was both. Ella patted Mary's hip with her small hand. Mayor Paul cleared his throat. Tom, this is not over. There are folks in Red Ridge who will not accept this. Then they will not accept it. I am not married to the folks of Red Ridge. I am married to Mary. There is a faction in town that has been pushing for this since October. Tonight will not stop them. It will inflame them. Let them be inflamed. My daddy told me one thing about fighting. He said, son, you fight the battle in front of you. Not the battle next week. The one on your porch tonight. The one on my porch tonight is over. We will fight next week's battle next week. Frank laughed. It was a wet, broken laugh, but real. Hank. Frank. Hank Doyle, you will ride back to town with these men and tell anybody who asks that you witnessed this marriage with your own eyes, that it was lawful, that the bride and groom were of sound mind, and that the grandfather of the children gave his blessing in the presence of an officer of the law. Will you tell them that, Hank? Yes, Frank. I will. Mayor, you will tell them the same. Pal, I'm not in the habit of being instructed by a rancher's father-in-law. Pal, I have known you since you were 12 and you were trading marbles with my Sarah. You will tell them what I told you to tell them, or I will ride into Red Ridge tomorrow morning and tell 6 other folks what I know about you and the widow Brennan in 78. Are we clear, Mayor? Pal went red. We are clear. Albright opened his mouth. Mr. Callahan, the license will be filed within 30 days. I will be expecting it on my desk. You will have it. You may go. The 4 men went. Tom threw the bolt. He stood with his forehead against the wood, and this time he was laughing in a small, exhausted, broken way. Mary was laughing too. Frank was laughing. Lily had let go of Mary's apron only long enough to throw both arms around Mary's hips. Ella was banging a wooden spoon against a chair. Mary turned to Tom. Mr. Callahan. You have lost your mind. Yes, ma'am. Entirely. Tom. I do not have a wedding dress. I'm standing in your kitchen with flour on my apron and your dead wife's spoon in my hand and your daughter's tears on my front. I have just married you in front of 4 men who came to take your children. I do not have a dress. Mary. You have never looked more like a bride to me than you do right now. She put her face in her hands. Frank Whitfield quietly walked over and lifted Lily onto one hip and Ella onto the other and carried both of his granddaughters out of the kitchen and up the stairs. Tom pulled Mary's hands down from her face. Mary. Tomorrow it will be hard. The town will come at us harder than tonight. They will not stop for a long time. But tonight we have won. Yes, Tom. Tonight we have won. He pulled her in. She fit against his chest in a way that surprised him. There was more of her to hold, and this was not a problem to be solved but a gift to be received. He held her tighter. Outside, the wind began finally to drop. Inside, in a kitchen that 2 days before had been a tomb, a man and a woman who had buried too many people stood together in front of a hearth that was warm. Upstairs, Frank tucked his granddaughters into bed and stroked Lily's hair until she was nearly asleep. Granddaddy, did Mama see? Yes, Lily Bug. Your Mama saw. Was she happy, Granddaddy? Lily Bug, your Mama was the happiest she has been in a year. Good. Sleep now, Granddaddy. Granddaddy. Yes, baby. I love Miss Mary. I know you do. Is it all right that I love her? The old man's voice was very steady. Lily Bug, your Mama sent her. Your Mama sent her through the snow. You love her with your whole heart. That is what your Mama wants. Lily smiled in her sleep. Downstairs, Tom Callahan held his wife against his chest and did not let her go. The fire popped in the hearth. Somewhere in a part of his heart that had been frozen for 12 months, a thing that had begun the night before to thaw was now finally, fully awake. Morning came soft. The wind had blown itself out. The world was a white, quiet thing with smoke rising straight from his own chimney for the first time in over a year. Tom had slept on the kitchen floor wrapped in horse blankets. He was not going to be the kind of husband who presumed on the first night of a marriage the woman had been forced into. Mary came down at 6. She had pinned her hair up and put on a clean apron. She did not look at him for the first 3 steps. Then she did. Morning, Mr. Callahan. Morning, Mrs. Callahan. Did you sleep on that floor? Yes, ma'am. Tom Callahan, you are a damn fool. Yes, ma'am. She crossed the kitchen and bent down and kissed the top of his head. A small kiss, a careful one. There, she said. Now I have kissed my husband. Mary. Do that again. She did. Frank brought the girls down at 7. Ella made a beeline for Mary and wrapped both arms around her leg. Lily walked careful and stopped 2 feet away. Miss Mary. Yes, sugar. Granddaddy says I'm not supposed to call you Miss Mary anymore. He says it ain't right. Lily sugar, you call me whatever feels true to you. Mama. The wooden spoon stopped moving in Mary's hand. Lily. Is that all right? It don't have to be today, Mama. It can be tomorrow if you ain't ready. Lily, I've been waiting to say it since the night you came. Mary set the spoon down. She turned around slow. She got down on one knee and opened her arms. Lily walked into them and did not let go for a long time. When she finally lifted her face, she looked Mary straight in the eye. I will not say it in town yet. I know we have to be careful. But in this house, in this kitchen, when nobody is here but us, you are my mama. Is that all right with you, mama? Yes, baby. That is all right with me. The first riders from town came at noon. Not Mayor Paul. Not the territorial agent. The women. 6 of them. The widow Brennan in the lead, the Olsen sisters behind her, the schoolteacher Miss Pratt behind them. Frank saw them coming. Tom, you got 6 women on horseback coming down your road. Frank, you will not meet them. This is my house. I will meet them. I have spent a year hiding. I will not hide today. He pulled on his coat and went out onto the porch without his rifle. Mary stood in the kitchen doorway with both girls behind her. Tom, she called soft. Do not be cruel to them. They are coming to be cruel to us. Hear them out. He did not answer. But when the widow Brennan rode into the yard and pulled up her mare, Tom Callahan did not put his hand on his hip. He took off his hat. Mrs. Brennan. You have rode a long way in deep snow. Tom, I will not come inside until I have said what I came to say on the porch where God and the cold and the wind can hear me. So you will stand there and you will listen. Yes, ma'am. The widow Brennan was 63 years old. She had buried 2 husbands and 4 children. She put one gloved hand on her saddle. I was at the general store yesterday when Reverend Harris came back from this house. I heard what he said. I heard what folks said back. I went home and sat at my kitchen table and thought about your Sarah. Your Sarah who used to come by my house every Tuesday with a loaf of bread. Your Sarah who never passed a hungry person on the road without stopping. I asked myself what your Sarah would think about a town that was looking to take her babies away from her husband because he had let a hungry stranger in out of a blizzard. I rode to the Olsen farm before sunup, then to Miss Pratt's, then to the Hadley place and the Wolves. We are here because we have decided what your Sarah would have done. And your Sarah would have come to this house with bread and a quilt and a kind word for the woman in your kitchen. So that is what we are doing. We have brought bread. We have brought 2 quilts. And I have come to say a kind word to your wife, because a marriage performed in a blizzard at the point of a thread is not the wedding any woman dreams of. Somebody from this county owes that woman a kindness today. Miss Pratt behind her was crying. So were the Olsen sisters. Tom took a breath. Mrs. Brennan. You will come inside. You will all come inside right now. Or I will carry you in, ma'am. And I am too tired to carry you gently. She laughed. It was a wet laugh, but real. Help me down off this horse, son. He did. They came in with bread and quilts and a jar of preserves and a small wrapped package that Miss Pratt put into Lily's hands. It was a pair of shoes that fit Ella, because Miss Pratt had measured Ella's feet in October and had not forgotten. Mary stood in the kitchen with her hands twisted in her apron. The widow Brennan walked straight to her and looked her up and down slow and careful, then put both her hands on Mary's cheeks. Mrs. Callahan. You walked into a dying house and you lit the stove. Welcome to Red Ridge, child. The half of it worth knowing is standing in this kitchen. The other half will come around or it will not. You have us. Mary broke. She broke quietly with one hand pressed against her mouth. The widow Brennan held her. The town did not all come around. That would not be honest. There were folks who never set foot on Callahan land again. There were whispers that did not stop for years. But there were not enough of them. Because the widow Brennan had brought bread on the 2nd day. The Olsens had brought a milk cow on the 3rd. Miss Pratt had written out every Saturday through the winter to teach Lily her letters at the kitchen table while Mary sat across from them with Ella on her lap. By spring, the road from Red Ridge to the Callahan Ranch had been ridden enough times by enough women that the path through the snow had worn down to a real road. The license was filed on the 18th day. Frank Whitfield wrote it into Helena himself through a thaw that flooded 3 creeks and handed it across the desk to the territorial agent in person. The agent looked at it and looked at Frank and signed it and stamped it. Mr. Whitfield. Your son-in-law is a stubborn man. Yes, sir. He is. Your daughter-in-law is a stubborn woman. Yes, sir. She is too. That marriage will hold. Tell them I said so. Frank wrote home with the stamped license folded inside his Bible. He walked into the kitchen without knocking and set it down on the table next to the bread basket and sat down in the chair that had become his chair and took the cup of coffee Mary had already poured him. Frank. Tom. Is it done? It is done, son. Thank you, Frank. Do not thank me, Tom. Thank her. The years came the way years do. The garden Mary planted that first spring grew larger each year until the Callahan ranch had vegetables to give away. Lily turned 9 and 10 and 11. Ella turned 7 and 8 and 9. They called Mary Mama in the kitchen first, then on the porch, then in the yard. When Lily was almost 10, in town on a Tuesday in front of the dry goods store, a woman said something Lily did not like, and Lily stepped in front of Mary and said very clearly, "Do not speak to my mama that way." Mary cried in the wagon all the way home. Tom put his hand over hers on the bench seat and held it. A baby boy came in the 4th year. They named him Thomas after Mary's first husband. Thomas had Tom's dark hair and Mary's brown eyes. He was a fat, laughing baby loved within an inch of his life by his sisters. Frank Whitfield lived to see him. Frank lived 7 years past the blizzard. He died on a warm Sunday in May in the chair by the kitchen stove with a cup of Mary's coffee cooling on the table and his Bible open on his lap. His face was peaceful. They buried him next to Sarah. Mary stood at the grave with Tom on one side and Lily on the other and Ella holding Thomas on her hip. She did not cry until the dirt was on. Then she cried for an hour. She had loved Frank Whitfield like a father. Years later, when Lily Callahan was 23 and getting married herself, she stood in front of a mirror in her mother's bedroom in a wedding dress Mary had sewn for her. Mama. Yes, sugar. Do you remember the night you came? I remember every minute of it. I remember Papa with the rifle. You with your hands up. The bread. Yes, sugar. Mama, did you know? That night when you walked through the door, did you know what you were walking into? Mary thought about it. Lily, I will tell you the truth. I knew there was a child crying. I knew there was a fire that needed lighting. That was all I knew. The rest I learned minute by minute and night by night for 20 years. I am still learning. Good. I am glad you came. Mary turned around. She put her hands on her oldest daughter's face. She kissed her forehead the way Tom had kissed her own forehead the night the Reverend had married them. Lily Callahan. You were not born to me. You were given to me. By your mother Sarah, who I never met but who I have thanked every day of my life for the gift of you and your sister. You were not born into this family. You were built into it. By your mama Sarah who started it. By your papa who held it together when he could not even hold himself. By your sister who kept you fed. By your granddaddy Frank who came through a blizzard for you. By me, who walked through an unlatched door because I heard a child crying. We built you, Lily. All of us, with both hands. And you are the proof. Lily put her face against her mother's shoulder. Mama. I love you. I love you, baby. I am ready to go now. I know you are, sugar. Will you walk me down? Your papa is going to walk you down. Mama, I want both of you. One on each side. Like you've been my whole life. Mary closed her eyes one full second. Yes, baby. Yes, we will both walk you down. And they did. Tom Callahan on her right and Mary Callahan on her left, and Ella behind her with Thomas grown to a boy of 16 carrying the rings, and the whole town of Red Ridge in the pews. The town had come around. Not all at once, but all the way. Because what the town saw year after year was a heavy-set woman in a flower-dusted apron raising 3 children who were kind, and a cowboy who had come back from the dead because she had walked into his kitchen and lit his stove, and a ranch that gave away vegetables, and a family that took in strangers in storms, and a kitchen where the door stayed unlatched. Always. Because Mary Callahan said a latched door was the kind of door she had once had to push open herself, and she would not be the woman who closed it on someone else. This is the story of how a fat, poor traveling cook walked into a dying widower's kitchen on the morning of a blizzard and saved every soul under that roof and was saved by them in turn. This is the story of a little girl who put her body between a rifle and a stranger because she knew the stranger had been sent. This is the story of a town that almost did the wrong thing and stopped. This is the story of an old man who carried a message from his dying daughter for a year and finally delivered it in time. This is the story of how love does not ask for permission, does not ask for a license, does not ask for the approval of a mayor or a preacher or a territorial agent. Love walks through an unlatched door in a blizzard with flour on its hands. Love lights the stove. Love sets 4 plates on the table. Love stays. The family Sarah Callahan started and Mary Callahan finished was not built by blood or by law or by the blessing of any town or territory. It was built by choice. By a woman who chose to walk through a door. By a man who chose to lower a rifle. By a child who chose with her whole 8-year-old heart to spread her arms wide and refuse to move. Love built that way. Chosen. Fought for. Walked through a blizzard for. That is the only love that lasts. That is the truth of this story. That is the truth of every story worth telling. And that is the end.